What's up guys, just want to say real quick before I get into the review that I'm trying out some different camera angles and positions as of late, if you guys haven't noticed that. So just bear with that for a little bit, trying to figure it out. It's mainly just the symmetry that I've had trouble with, like keeping myself in the middle of the frame. The past several videos I've had to sort of crop the frame down to have myself look like I'm more towards the middle. Not that you guys care, but I just wanted to mention that in case anyone was wondering why my videos look different as of late. With that said, let's get into this album review. Her Loss is a collaborative studio album, the first one to come from just these two artists by themselves, those two artists being Drake and 21 Savage, which was originally supposed to be released on the 28th of October this year, which we saw in the Jimmy Cooks music video, but it was delayed a week because 40 apparently came down with COVID in the middle of mixing and mastering the crack, as Drake wrote. I was looking forward to this album coming out and listening to it. In general, I don't mind these guys working together at all. I liked Jimmy Cooks quite a bit off of Honestly Neverminds. And I even did kind of like Knife Talk. Really, I just don't like Drake's part in that track, but everything else, I think 21 Savage does great on that. I like the beat a lot. To me, this album really only had two ways of actually being good and actually going over well. One of the ways being a lot of focus on lyrics and storytelling, overall just good rapping. Or two, just making a bunch of hard beats and delivering these hard flows and basically just making it like this big party album. It's really consistency that I think this album needed for it to be the best that it could have been. I do feel like this album overall though was very inconsistent, and I'm talking with everything, not just the songs themselves, but the quality of the production can be up and down at times, especially lyrics a lot of the time. And if we're talking about the flow of this album, it's quite the opposite of a smooth sail, if I may say so myself. However, I don't want to just harp on the negatives right now, even though on the whole this album did let me down. It wasn't without its moments. I think that it actually does get off to a pretty good start with the first two tracks. Rich Flex being the opening track to this thing, which is basically like just a variation of Jimmy Cooks, which I was honestly cool with. I liked the style and the structure of that song, and this one kind of carries on that same pattern, having a beat switch right in the middle. I think it works really well here, and I even do kind of like Drake's segue right into part two. He delivers it in this very deep voice. Although I don't really get the interpolations that both Drake and 21 take on here. 21 interpolating Megan Thee Stallion's Savage, and then Drake doing the Sticks and Stones thing. That was a little bit weird, but overall pretty cool intro. And then the second track, Major Distribution, I found to be kind of unpredictable. It starts off in this really cheesy kind of singer-songwriter bag that Drake is in, but then very abruptly switches into this kind of dark, bouncy trap piano beat. I get the sensation that Drake and 21 were kind of just like bouncing around, ducking low while they were delivering their bars. Odd BS I think is okay, but I do think it is just a little bit too drawn out, especially with the spoken word at the end, which does fit with the context of the track a little bit, but I don't think it exactly validates its existence. I would say Back Outside Boys is definitely the first stinker on here. Not very good production on this one. This one is also just Drake. It's not Drake and 21, it's just Drake. And I'm really not compelled by his performance at all here. And the auto-tune on his voice, I mean, it doesn't even sound like it's him. It is him, I can tell it's him, but it's just so robotic and lifeless sounding. I think Spin About You has some admirable qualities to it. The Bigodi sample, I think, is pretty okay. It's really the first one on here to go towards more of the R&B direction, which I'm fine with. This is, however, followed by the 6.5 minute snoozer that is Hours in Silence. And I don't mean to crap on the song too much. I do think there is actually a pretty good kind of slow moving ambient build-up within the instrumental that feels like something off of The Weeknd's House of Balloons. Drake's voice isn't too bad on this one as well. It's a little bit quiet and subdued. It's a chill track. I can see some people vibing with it. Personally, I just found it to be kind of a snooze fest. Later on, we have Circo Loco, which samples One More Time by Daft Punk with this bounce trap rhythm going along with it that I thought was okay. After this though, we get what is easily, I think, one of the better songs on here called Pussy and Millions, with the one feature on here, that being Travis Scott. Really digging this one, really digging the strings on this track, as well as the, once again, beat switch that we get on this album here. Whenever Travis comes in, it basically just becomes this psychedelic trap banger, which we hear a lot from Travis, and I thought that he came through with a really good feature overall. Sadly though, another good beat switch is wasted on the next track, Broke Boys, with this pretty kick-ass piano melody that we hear in the second part, and Drake just providing nothing of interesting to go along with this, with his flow, with his lyrics, nothing whatsoever. We do bounce back a little bit though with the track Middle of the Ocean, also one of my favorites on here, with the lyrics kind of supporting the idea of, you know, being on some sort of cruise ship in the middle of the ocean, like the title says, eating different kinds of food, having drinks. Great production on this one too. The drums sound great, the string loops are gorgeous, and a really good, I think, incorporation of an OJ's sample. Cool kind of slow jam there at the end too that I thought was a good way to close it. Then we go on to Jumbotron Shit Popping, which I really don't have anything to say about, except, is that Playboi Carti? It sounds like him each time that I've listened to this. It has sounded like Playboi Carti at that moment. That is an ad-lib that he uses. More M's is a really solid cut off this thing with some good Metro Boomin production, kind of striking a similar atmosphere to pretty much anything off of Without Warning, I think, which, you know, speaking of 21 Savage, kind of makes sense. I do also like the song 3 AM on Glenwood. It's the only one on here to just be performed by 21 Savage, and it's also one of the only ones that actually feels like it's trying to tell a good and compelling story, with him touching on some of the people that he's lost in his life and how he's dealt with that at such a high celebrity status. I guess It's Fuck Me does kind of do the same thing as well. Drake also kind of singing from a reflective state. And then that's the end of this album, Her Loss, which on the whole I don't think is that bad. I think it does have some good moments, but, you know, thinking back to it, I just am very uninterested and very uninspired to want to revisit it ever again. Even though there are some great moments, there are a lot of moments that are just painfully boring for me. I mean, listening to this one last time before I recorded this review, like, I wasn't even halfway through and I already was like wanting to turn it off at one point. I have somewhat mixed feelings on this right now. I would give it about a 5.5 out of 10. I'm definitely more on the negative side with this one, but I can't say that I hated it. I can't say that it's awful. It's just kind of not that good. Have you listened to Her Loss? If you haven't, I would say that that's actually not your loss, because you're not really missing out. Then again, that joke doesn't actually make a whole lot of sense if you're a boy, so just maybe forget that I've said that. But I would love to know any of your guys' thoughts at all, your favorite tracks, just in general, if you liked it or not. Leave a comment below. Thank you all for watching, and I'll see you whenever my next video comes out. Peace out.